What's going on, guys? The Acolyte episode 3 has dropped, and man, that was quite an episode, and not in a good way. Okay. So, just like last time, I broke down everything that they did wrong as far as just trying to tell a story. So, I guess we're gonna get into more of that now because this episode was atrocious. This is like one of the worst TV episodes ever, and then on top of that, a lot of things just wrong from both a cinematic perspective and a Star Wars perspective. So let's get right on into it, shall we? So this episode was a backstory episode, a nothing but backstory episode. So we don't get any actual like movement forward in the main story, which is kind of weird. Normally, if you're going to do a backstory thing, you're going to do like, flashbacks while you're still trying to push along the narrative. But no, they're like, you know what? No, we're just going to do it all in one. Just one big episode that you're going to have to sit through. All right. So to kick things off, the episode starts with Osha just hanging out in the forest, and she decides to use the Force to playfully hold this alien bug thing still in midair, so it's not flapping its wings, it's just stuck in midair, showing that before Jedi training she could use the Force, which is incredibly sad when you think about the fact that in the very first episode she struggled to use the Force at all, couldn't even do the simplest of simple Force pulls. So already just setting up a weird narrative, like what happened if, just like I said before, you don't need Jedi training to use a simple Force push or pull. And so here she is using it and then not using it. And so moving on from that, next up we have May using the Force on the same bug, just having a really bad day getting bullied by these twins. And then Osha gets upset because all of a sudden she's like, May's hurting the butterfly, even though May's doing the exact same thing that Osha was doing. Now, this was apparently set up as like, I guess laying out the crumbs to show like a pattern of anger and aggression to try to explain her later actions, but it falls extremely flat because she didn't really do anything, and she lets the butterfly go after Osha tells her to. She has to repeat herself, but she still lets it go. Like, if you're gonna like set up like an evil character, she should have done more than that. That's all I'm saying. She just held it still menacingly. Like, Osha held it still peacefully, and she held it still menacingly. I guess that's all you need to fall to the dark side. Just have a moment where you're just looking at something menacingly, right? Now, as it progresses, they're clearly trying to show this disconnect between the twins, showing one is happy with her life that she's living and the other one is not. Osha being the one that's not. But it's kind of weird the way they're doing it because they're not really letting us know why in the beginning. Like, there's really no context, and you don't really see her doing much of anything except for hanging out in like the forest and everything. I guess that's supposed to be enough for she wants to see the entire galaxy kind of thing and everything, because she's like dissatisfied with her life. I'm just saying, it's just like very, very weak building blocks here to set up the premise. And so right after that scene where they walk through the forest, we get a quick shot of a younger soul spying on the girls, setting up a premise that there's something more sinister going on in this place. Unfortunately, as the story progresses, that sinister angle really falls flat. And so here we are in the next scene after that. We have the parents of Osha and May discussing the fact that they're hiding out and they don't want to be noticed by the Jedi. Still, again, setting up a premise that there's something more nefarious going on. But again, it's going to fall flat because right now they're just saying that they're hiding out from them. But as it goes on, you see that it kind of shows that they really had no reason to be hiding out, and the Jedi's reason for being there is kind of contradictory to everything that the Jedi were doing. And so it's revealed right here that this group is a group of Force-using witches. So think of it as like a great value Dathomirians in that sense, because they don't do anything special. In this entire scene, they talk about how they view the Force different from others. You're talking about the Jedi, obviously, because they're the main power in this era. But they don't give any context other than a metaphor about how you can pull strings to guide your destiny or shape your destiny. But at the same time, they don't show any uniqueness in any way. Their training involved doing force pushes at each other over and over again in different number patterns. I guess that makes it a little bit more special. I don't know what. But that was pretty much all we got from this entire scene. A little bit of talk about strings instead of the force flowing, and then force push. So yeah, great value Dathomirians. Like, if they were going to introduce like their tribe as a tribe of force using witches, they should have thought of something that was unique. They only did one thing that was kind of unique, and that's during the ceremony. But before we get to the ceremony, Disney just has to be Disney, and we have to get into this entire trivial back and forth about how Osha does not want to become a witch and she wants to be something different, even though she doesn't really know what it is that she wants to be. And her mom is telling her that there's nothing else out there for her, that they're too different, that she has to be a witch. Very along the lines for stuff that narrative that Disney has done. We've seen this plenty of times before. The kid with a dream that's getting stomped all over by their parent. We've seen that plenty of times before. So it's kind of like, meh. And then we get more of the back and forth of the twins bickering over one wanting the two to do everything together and the other one wanting to have her own independent life. And everybody is completely ignoring this issue that's developing over here and not actually sitting down and talking to them at all. Like, great parenting, guys. And then we get to the actual ritual, where once again it shows May is excited to become a witch, and the look on Osha's face is like, I really don't want to do this. And so we go from there, and we finally get to see a little bit of their magic, just a tiny bit, a droplet of something unique, kind of. But it's not completely unique, because while they're drawing on this energy that they're about to use, they're doing this chant, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. It's like they're really dancing around and trying to keep from saying the power of three. Like, they don't want the people who are charmed to come after them. Like, no, we're not going to say the power of three. Oh man, that's exactly what this took me to when they were chanting that. It was like, wait, is this an episode of Charmed? Are we in Charmed now? Is this what happened? We're no longer watching Star Wars. This is an episode of Charmed. Okay, so yeah, the power of everything but three, just to avoid that, right? And then after that, they proceed to giving May a special mark, I guess the mark of their tribe, because they don't actually explain what the mark is supposed to represent or what it does for her, either culturally or power-wise or any of that. It's just there. It's just, you're one of us now, kind of thing. A tattoo, if you will. And then we get to Osha, who does not want to accept this and get her tattoo, but she accepts it reluctantly, even though everything's about to get interrupted and she's not actually going to receive it. Because the Jedi have walked in like a bunch of authoritarian party crashers, which is really out of character and out of context for what the Jedi were doing. Because they come in here, they start questioning them about what they're doing and saying they're training children. But I'm like, wait a second. Since when did you guys go after other Force groups in any sense? Like, if this little group is so important that you have to go after them, then what about the Dathomirian, the actual Dathomirian witches? Like, their downfall wasn't fighting against the Jedi, it was with being double crossed by the Sith. The Jedi never bothered them because they didn't bother anybody. And here we have another group of witches that don't bother anybody. So in terms of the lore, why are the Jedi even here? In terms of wanting to ask them any questions in the first place, you know? It's like, again, just coming up with whatever just to push the narrative. And this whole thing was just weird because now that the girls are discovered and everything, the Jedi is like asking questions and making them think that they're going to take the children away. But then they kind of do try, because the first thing that Soul tries to do is recruit Osha, like right off the bat. He sees her and all of a sudden it's like, hey, do you want to become a Jedi? And it doesn't matter if he sensed that she had an interest in them or whatever. First of all, too old, because they're supposed to be 8 right now. remember, Anakin was 8, and they did not want to train him. It took for it to be like Qui-Gon's last wish, his dying wish, and Obi-Wan standing firm in the stance that he was going to train him no matter what, and he would even leave the order because that's how much he cared about Qui-Gon's last wish. The council reluctantly allowed Anakin to be trained. But now we have Soul just right out the gate. Hey, random girls, one of you. Oh, I can see you show you like this, right? You like this lightsaber? You like this lightsaber? You want to become a Jedi? Like, it feels weird. Just random girl, just, hey, do you want to become a Jedi? Do you want the lightsaber? Do you want the lightsaber? Like, weird. Just, I'm sorry. Just no. This entire narrative does not work. It doesn't work from the lore perspective, and even in just storytelling, just out the blue, hey, I'll take you. Like, oh no, you're not supposed to be training them to use the Force. That's our job. And I get they're trying to set up this thing to where like the Jedi are trying to monopolize the Force and everything like that, but this was not the way to go and do it. No, this was not it. This was not it. This is terrible. And so then after that, the Jedi convinces them to allow them to test the girls to see if they have the qualities to become a Jedi. And they accept and then coach the girls into failing the test so that they won't have to leave. And again, this is completely going against everything in terms of this. Number one, if you know the lore, too old. Too old. Let's just hammer that away. Too old. Like 8 years old is too old. It's like, and then Soul told his story about being 4 years old when he was taken in. 4 years old is even a stretch because they want you to have no connection to your family. So it was like, even that's like pushing it to like the limits and everything. So 8 years old and being strong connected to the family, the Jedi wouldn't even think about wanting to recruit them. The fact that they're pushing this weird narrative, this weird out of the blue exception for no reason, just no. It doesn't, no, this is wrong, right? And then the way they're doing it, okay, they're going to purposely fail this test because otherwise they'll be forcefully taken away. When no, they're not going to forcefully take anyone. In fact, as this pushes along, they don't try to take both of them. It's just Osha actually wants to go. So that makes this entire scenario fall flat because they weren't going to try to force May to go in the way they tell this. So, and that's been something that's been known. If you are a Force sensitive and the Jedi come for you, they're not going to force you. The Sith actually force you. The Jedi don't force you. There's been plenty of in Legends of worlds that did not even allow the Jedi to take their kids because they didn't want to. And the Jedi didn't come down heavy-handed and force them. So if those stories were written that way, why is this so different? And then they can't even commit to it because they only want Osha. Because she's the only one showing interest in wanting to join them. So it's really them letting it be her choice, but they're telling it like it's not her choice. Like, make up your mind. Which way are we going to go here? And so they go on to actually do the test. They take the blood sample for the M count, which was absolutely useless because they don't actually tell us what the M count was or even show anything else after that. It was literally just there just to be there. And then while she's there, she tries to fake the test and fail on purpose, but Soul over here Xerox scanning people's minds again and everything, notes that she really wants to go and knows that she knows the answers even though she's given the wrong answers and everything. And after a talk with her, she decides she wants to be a Jedi, even though that part still doesn't make complete sense to me, because if she always wanted to be a Jedi, then why did her attachments with her family, like, I can get maybe the trauma of losing them, but it didn't seem like she was super attached to them to begin with. Like, she really wanted to separate. So why is it the beginning of the show was the problem was her attachments with her family, if right here in this episode we're showing that she was not as attached to them as they made it seem? Trauma wise, yes, she lost them. They end up dying in the fire and everything, which they also did a terrible job, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yes, they die in the fire and, she's traumatized for that. But still, the fact that she was showing that she wanted the Jedi life before that happened it shouldn't have been something where she just became just a failed Jedi Padawan. You see what I'm saying here? How this is kind of like contradictory in a lot of ways. And then real quick, let's just back this up because I really want to bring this up because this really irritated me. This whole situation happened the way it happened, and it completely contradicts Corbin's acceptance of his guilt and committing suicide. He's right here as a Padawan, and he does absolutely nothing. First of all, the fire's not his fault, as we'll see in a moment. The fire's not none of their fault, except for May's. But the Jedi weren't even involved in doing anything aggressive in any kind of manner. They didn't do anything. And in fact, he was the one. They acted aggressive towards him. So where's the guilt trip? Where, like, what was it about this that made him feel guilty and decide to isolate himself and take the vow? I forgot what the exact name of it was, but the entire vow and everything where he like cut himself off from society. And why would he be willing to drink poison behind the fact that he was on the sideline watching what happened and wasn't even directly involved in any way possible? Like, how did we get from this, hey, he's just there, to this? Oh, face is partially messed up. Oh my God, I have so many scars. Oh man, I did something so wrong and I owe you an apology and I'm just going to drink this poison. How did we get there? Terrible, terrible storytelling. I'm sorry. It completely invalidated his entire self-sacrifice because nothing happened with him. And then so here's where everything takes a hard left and just makes no sense at all. So first we get to Osha confessing to her mother that she wants to be a Jedi and her mother reluctantly accepting it. Now, May is still not being forced to go anywhere. She's about to stay with the witches. So number one, them here accusing the witches of training child soldiers goes out the window because they're not even bothering them about that anymore. Them coming to forcefully take the children away falls flat because they're only taking Osha because she said she wanted to go. And then the fact that she's going in the first place makes no sense because she's already 8 years old. The council shouldn't even allow it. Makes no sense whatsoever. But because we've gone with this no sense direction, let's just continue on that path and make things continue to not make sense. Because May is so upset by the fact that her sister is getting ready to leave that she decides, if I can't have you, no one can, like a jealous lover, and decides to try and kill her via fire. Except they're in a stone building. But don't worry, because nothing makes sense. So the stone manages to catch fire. So yeah, that's where we're going with this. And I'm sorry, the moment of her holding the alien butterfly thing for a little bit longer than Osha did is not a good follow-up to her going full psycho and trying to burn her sister to death. She did nothing in between to constitute that she might be going in this direction or she might be a little messed up in the head. Just 0 to 100 out of nowhere. I get that she's upset that her sister is leaving, but jumping straight to "I'll kill you" makes no sense right along with this burning stone. Nothing about this scene makes sense at all. And then May escapes by hot wiring the door in order to get it to open out the side, which she probably should have been able to just open anyway, but even if it was like booby trapped and anything like that, where did she learn the skills for this? They've been training to be magic witches of the Force, not mechanics or, hackers or anything like this. So where did she learn this particular skill? How come we didn't get any kind of hints on this before? Like, what? But hey, she did it. She plot armor came in for her and she escaped the fire. Even though no one else escaped the fire, because apparently fire on stone travels so fast that it spread through the entire village, blowing up reactors and just snuffed out the entire village just like that. Wow. Star Wars physics. So just know that in Star Wars, fire blazes and burns brightly in space, and fire travels along stone as if it was gasoline. Just what are we doing here? What are we doing here? This is what happened? For real? And then on top of that, we never get to see any kind of special usage of the Force from this group of witches. So, they were throwaways. They literally existed just to die in the same episode. with no real context to who they are or what their purpose is. Just straight up throwaways, like for real. And after it's all said and done, they see May fall to her presumed doom or whatever, so they don't actually see her die and everything, you know. And then we get Osha with Master Soul, as you know, he tries to calm her down after she done witnessed her entire village get snuffed out behind her sister acting crazy, and he takes her in as a Padawan. And then at the very end, of course, we see the evil sister who has survived, and then it cuts to black. So much wrong with this. You contradicted so much that you had already built up. You had built up a scenario where the Jedi screwed up some kind of extremely major way, and their screw up was the domino effect that caused May to start this fire by accident that ended up killing everyone. But it was only supposed to kill like her family. This fire went way out of control and destroyed an entire village in the snap of a finger. Like, so one, the Jedi weren't even a part of that in any way. There was no big conflict that happened. There was some disagreements. There was some animosity, but no major conflict that happened. Torben taking his vow of silence and isolating himself makes absolutely no sense now, because he was a Padawan who was on the sideline the entire time, and the Jedi at large wasn't even involved in this accident happening. They had absolutely nothing to do with it. And then the narrative of, oh, they're going to take our children was snuffed out because they only wanted Osha because they knew that Osha wanted to go with them. Which, again, is kind of weird because they never explained why Osha wanted to go with them, other than the part where she says she wants to travel the galaxy. But the thing is, at no point does she show any interest specifically in being a Jedi until the Jedi show up. That's the problem with that. It's like, ooh, I want to do something, but I don't know. Hey, Jedi, okay, I'll go with you guys. Just that, it makes no sense. It makes no sense, okay? And so, again, just a hot mess. They contradicted things. They showed Osha showing talent with the Force, even though now she's talentless with the Force. They showed that Torben's suicide meant absolutely nothing because he didn't actually do anything or was responsible for anything. Nothing happened that actually involved him directly, other than him getting like possessed for like 2 seconds. So in other words, they hurt him more than anything else. Why was he so convinced to take the poison? So easily convinced. So yeah, this entire show is still a mess. 3 episodes in, still not showing any hope. They don't know how to tell a story. Again, and I always say this, the actors, they do what they can with these scripts. At the end of the day, the writers and the directors are the ones who tell them what to do and how to do it. So this is their project. Don't blame the actors, blame them. All right, I always defend the actors because they get attacked for no reason. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this one. Let's see. I'll see y'all for episode 4 to see how bad of a job they do there, because this is terrible and I don't see it getting better anytime soon, but we will see, because I do love Star Wars. And don't think that I'm here just to hate on the show because I hate it. I'm here calling it out because I love Star Wars and I would rather see better Star Wars come out, okay? So I don't know, you can believe it if you want to, but here's the thing, I love Star Wars, all right? And I would love for this. I loved the Bad Batch, and the fact that we're getting this after the Bad Batch is so disappointing. But what, we just got to keep on demanding quality until hopefully one day we get it. So that's gonna do it for this one. I'll see you guys next time. As always, may the Force be with you, and I'm out of here.